Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the final installment of our Ray Bradbury From the Dust Returned book study. This has kind of been a tradition now. I think this is the third year, actually, we've done it. We did Something Wicked This Way Comes, and then the Halloween Tree, and now From the Dust Returned. Next year, I think we'll do for October, probably the October People, or the October Country. I think that'll probably be the one. But welcome if you happen upon this replay, or you happen upon this stream here, and you're thinking, oh man, last one, I didn't catch any of these. You still can. And I also have in the links below the description there a link to the full audio of the audible version of this book, narrated by John Glover, unabridged, really great recording, as well as the link to buy a copy of the book yourself. You can always go back and watch these replays rather. So hopefully those who've been following along have enjoyed the book. And if you, it's a free listen at the very least. You click on a YouTube link and there you go. So hopefully you'll do that. But also mention that, and I'll mention it again at the end, that we're actually going to take a break next week because I need to get the books in order and everything like that, and get the books to Al and everything. But the week after that, on was it like the 11th or something? The second Tuesday of October, or second Thursday of October, rather, excuse me. The 11th. I was right. That's when we're going to start Star Wars Allegiance. So I do have a link you can buy that book as well in the description if you wanted to. That's a really great book. It's takes place after Scoundrels, which we recently did. And it's still in that in-between space between episode 4 and episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. And it takes place once Han's back with the Alliance there. So it's a really great read. A little bit more Mara Jade. It's written by Timothy Zahn. So great stuff. But let me go ahead and welcome my my co-host into the stream, and then we will kind of make a little announcement here in a moment, and welcome the chat and everything, and then get started. But for the last time, folks, for the very last time, welcome with me, Uncle Alnar. How are you, sir?
I am doing well. 'Tis a bittersweet night, for this will be the last night that my beloved wings shall flap into the chat and share the wonderful adventures of my family.
Did Uncle Alnar find a wife and family like Uncle Einar? Are you still shopping?
I play the field, my friend. 'Tis a wide field I love to fly over.
Chicks dig the wings.
Chicks dig the wings, baby.
Oh man. Well, welcome to the chat. Let's see who we've got. I think we believe Team Ghost Planet 3.0 was here first, so welcome to you both. Hopefully both of you are watching.
I would like to congratulate Team Ghost Planet 3.0. I think this is the longest I've seen them have that name. The same name over a period of time.
I like that planet. That name though, Team Ghost Planet. It's a cool one, and of course I love the Space Ghost reference. Great. And my dear Sound Engraver is with us, and she is not even letting me get to it. She's right in there reminding everyone.
She is self-promoting immediately,
which is fine because I'm actually going to play a little bit of this track here. I
think I caught a little piece of it.
Yeah, you caught a little piece when you were backstage there, and I was just trying to make sure that I had the share screen up because I can't play. StreamYard won't let me play the file that I downloaded, but it will let me play the Bandzoogle page, which is hard for me to adjust volume on and hard for me to get to a right time space or timestamp. So I think I've got it where I want it, but I might wait until I'm at the end of the stream when we have a lot more people in here because like 5 or 6 now or something, which is normal. But by the end of these, sometimes, on Thursday nights, we can rank up to 10 or so. So I think I might wait until the end and play a little piece of the music. But I do want to read her chats there. Good evening. Let me share these actually, because it's good stuff. Sound Engraver says, good evening. Love these stories. Festive way to finish the fantastical month of October. Yes, it is. It's really been a great one. A great book study. I've loved this. Check out my new track I just released in honor of Ray Bradbury, one of the most iconic writers of speculative fiction. And I've got to say, and I'll put the link to her page in there in the chat as well as a direct link. Oh, she's got the direct link there. That's direct link to the song to buy. But she'd let me hear like a stage of this track earlier, and it really is like such a wonderful audio homage to Ray Bradbury because it starts out with a little bit of maybe a sci-fi kind of esque, and then it gets into that more speculative areas too as well, and it really she's got it designed to kind of like be like an ASMR style thing going on in your ears for a certain point, and then it really drops and it gets into this great beat, and it's really wonderful ambient music to read Bradbury to.
And we all know how you love ASMR.
Shut up, Al. Not going there with you tonight, man. Yeah, there's the link. Yeah, so I'll put the link. I don't know if I put the link in the chat. I don't think it comes up as a hyperlink. But if you go to her website and just scroll down, she's got it set to where the very first thing you see down there is her oh, she's got his link too. Yeah, it's a hyperlink when she put it in there. Okay, so that was superfluous, but yeah, because she's a admin. Okay. So cool. So yeah, the second week of November is what I meant there. For the 11th. That's when we're starting Star Wars Allegiance by Timothy Zahn. So get back to where I was there. Yep.
But I will say, like I said, it's going to be bittersweet to leave the Elliots. I've really, really enjoyed this book.
Mm-hmm. It's a great book, and we got more. We'll come back to Bradbury at the very least next October, if not before. But we've got some great chapters to go through tonight. Really good stuff. So we covered a lot of great things last time around as well. The Uncle Einar's chapter, the mysterious traveler or passenger rather, that was great. We closed with the Theban voice chapter.
Yeah, I think that one's probably my favorite. The ghastly passenger.
The ghastly passenger, yeah.
That's one of my favorites. You know why, probably.
Yeah. It's a great one. It's good. So we start with these headphones are hard to put on with the headphones on. I mean, eyeglasses are hard to put on with the headphones on. All right. So we start with chapter 18, Make Haste to Live. And we meet we hear of this coming character, yet another member of the family that Timothy's learning about, one Angelique Marguerite, Mademoiselle Angelina, Marguerite.
Yep.
And he's learning that she's in the back, she's in the graveyard behind the house. He's like, well, is she okay? Is she like living dead? Is she going to wake up or something? It's like, no, she'll be here with us soon. And he doesn't quite get what's going on. How long ago did she die? Ask rather, said father. How soon will she be born? But she was born a long time ago, said Timothy. I can't make out the date. Surely, because on the tombstone there. Surely, said the tall, gaunt, pale man at the head of the dinner table, who got taller and gaunter and paler by the hour. Surely, if I can trust my ears and ganglion, she will be truly born in a fortnight. So they gather around at the time when this the time for this person to be born in their grave comes about, and they start to dig it. They dig her up, and at first they open up the casket and they find a layer of spring onions, green onions, which is disgusting. But
I was reading that and I just was like, I was like, Professor's mind exploded.
But then a layer of bread, and the idea is things they used to pack with the Egyptian tombs and stuff like that, keeping them stocked, in the
Stuff
afterlife or something.
For the afterlife, yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to add before, because since we're already there, but when reading this and the description of what was happening and the anticipation, I was like, what a unique concept.
Mm-hmm.
And because I really didn't know what to expect, and then when her existence unfolded, I was like, it's kind of a cool idea, kind of Benjamin Button-y kind of feel.
Yeah, we'll go into kind of what it represents and what it means, but wonderful prose again. Of uncovering it, and they're seeing actually her body. She's a maiden. She's not like some old crone. She's a maiden. The candlelit trembled at the sight. The family knew an earthquake of response. Their exclamations flooded the dark air. Not knowing what to do, they applauded the golden hair, the fine high cheekbones, the arched eyebrows, the small and perfect ears, the satisfied but not self-satisfied mouth, fresh from 1,000 years' sleep, her bosom a slender hillock, her hands like ivory pedants, the feet tiny and asking to be kissed. Don't make it weird. there seemed to be
I will say I was waiting for that line.
There seemed to be no need for shoes. Good Lord, they would carry her anywhere. And they're so struck by her beauty And it reminds me of, Bradbury was certainly have been an Edgar Allan Poe fan, and Poe's one of his quotes saying that how do you say it? I think he said the most beautiful thing in literature. I forget the exact wording he said, but it's basically the death of a young woman. That's the most beautiful, the most poetic, I think he said, thing you can have there. And he's not just being morbid or trying to get a rise out of people horrifically or anything. He's actually speaking as a poet, because you think about the especially with his life and all that he went through, the perfect embodiment of life, of nurture, of everything good and nurturing and loving and comforting in life is in the feminine. And that young maiden right there at the cusp of, not quite a mother yet, but right there at the cusp of it all, the pinnacle of beauty, that kind of idea. And I think he's playing into that a little bit here.
Yeah. Also, the emotional resonance that would hold for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, Anywhere, thought Timothy. I don't understand, he said. How can this be? This is, someone whispered, and the whisper had come from the breathing the mouth of this creature come alive. But, said Timothy, death is mysterious, mother, brushed Timothy's cheek. Life even more so. Choose, and whether you blow away in dust at life's end or arrive at youngness and go back to birth, and within birth, that is stranger and strange, yes. So we understand that this character, get you to turn down your volume a little bit there, Al.
And I
Uh,
did.
Angelina is she's born in the grave, and she's going to, rather than age to be elderly and to eventually die, she's going to age backwards and to eventually younger and younger, to a child, to a baby, all the way back to a woman's womb. We'll talk about that. There's some great quotes here later. um well, she whispered, is this birth or rebirth? Quiet laughter from all. One or the other or none. Timothy's mother reached out. Welcome, stay. Soon enough you will leave for your sublime destiny. So she stays there for a while, and I am going to read a rather lengthy portion here, because it gets to the cusp of it. And I'll skip over a few lines and kind of abridge it here and there, but we can stop occasionally and talk about this. So she's been there for a while. Sunsets are loved because they vanish. Flowers are loved because they go. The dogs of the field and the cats of the kitchen are loved because soon they must depart. These are not the sole reasons, but at the heart of morning, welcomes, and afternoon laughters is the promise of farewell. In the gray muzzle of an old dog, we see goodbye. In the tired face of an old friend, we read long journeys beyond returns. So it was with Angelina Marguerite and the family, but most of all with Timothy. So there's, life is ephemeral enough, as Bradbury's pointing out there, but with somebody like this who starts their life at the pinnacle of beauty and is going to regress backwards into different stages of that beauty, it's even more ephemeral. And she's de-aging faster than a normal human would age.
Mhm.
Make haste to live was the motto embroidered on the great hall carpet, over which they walked or ran each minute of each hour of each day that the lovely maid occupied their lives. For she was diminishing from 19 to 18 and 1.5 to 18 and 1/4, even as they started and put out their hands to quell this endless yet beautiful retrogression. There's also a changing pace in the book at this point, where the even though it's a novel and stories, the pace of it thus far had been kind of fun, introducing a lot of these characters, not meandering in terms of pace, but meandering in terms of having just fun and kind of glorying in the different characters and whatnot. And then ever since that homecoming, and then the trials after the homecoming, a little bit more seriousness. Now we're getting this sense of, with this make haste to live, especially for Timothy, so we get a sense of some sort of end coming, and we'll find what that is in a moment. Uh, Wait for me, Timothy cried one day, seeing her face and body melt from beauty to beauty like a candle lit and never ceasing. Catch me if you can, said Angelina Marguerite. She ran down a meadow with Timothy, weeping in pursuit. Exhausted, with a great laugh, she fell and waited for him to drop near. Caught, he cried, trapped. No, said she, gently, and took his hand. Never, dear cousin. Listen. Then she explained. I shall be this 18 for a little while, and then 17, and 16 a small while, and oh, Timothy, while I am this and then that age, I must find me a quick love, a swift romance in the town below, and not let them know I come down from this hill or this house, and release myself to joy for a little while before I am 15 and 14 and 13, and then the innocence of 12, before the pulses start and the blood manifests, and then 11 and ignorant but happy, and 10 even happier, and then again, Timothy, if only somewhere along the way backward you and I could conjoin, clasp hands in friendship, clasp bodies in joy. How fine, yes? Just before we keep going, because this is wonderfully written, there is a sense too with a lot of the members of the family, a little bit of Timothy's been longing to be like them, but there's a slight bit of longing for them to be like him, to be alive again, to you know. So then again, Timothy, if only somewhere along the way backward, you and I could conjoin, clasp hands in friendship, clasp bodies in joy. How fine, yes? And Timothy, I don't know what you're talking about. How old are you, Timothy? 10, I guess. Ah, yes, so you don't know what I say. She leaned forward suddenly and gave him such a kiss on his mouth that his eardrums fractured and the soft spot on his skull ached. That is a brilliant, brilliant way of describing it, because babies are born with a malleable skull, and you just that soft spot's not completely hardened yet as you grow older. So to say that soft spot in his skull ached, it's that youngness of him is aching to understand and aching to get it of what she's talking about, but he's too young, 10 years old. Does that give you a small idea of what you'll miss by not loving me? She said. Timothy blushed all over. His soul leaped out from his body and rushed back in a storm. Almost, he whispered. Eventually, she said, I must leave. That's terrible, he cried. Why? I must, dear cousin, for if I stay too long in any one place, they will notice, as the months pass, that in October I was 18, and in November 17, and then 16, and by Christmas 10, and with a spring or two, and then one, and then search and seek to find some flesh to mother me as I hide back in her womb, to visit that forever from whence we all came to visit, time and vanish in eternity. So Shakespeare said. I like that. So to hide back in her womb, to visit that forever from whence we all came to visit, time and vanish in eternity. So Shakespeare said. Did he? Life is a visit rounded by sleeps. I, being different, came from sleep of death. I run to hide in the sleep of life. Next spring, I will be a seed stored in the honeycomb of some maiden wife eager for collisions ripe for life. So, let me just keep reading because it's so great. You are strange.
It's beautiful.
It is
beautiful prose.
You are strange, said Timothy. Very. Have there been many like you since the world began? Few that we know. But aren't I fortunate to be born from the grave, then burned in some child bride's pomegranate maze? Buried in some child bride's pomegranate maze. No wonder they were celebrating all that laughter, said Timothy, and the wine. No wonder, said Angelina Marguerite, and leaned for another kiss. Wait! Too late. Her mouth touched his. A furious blush fired his ears, burnt his neck, broke and rebuilt his legs, banged his heart, and rose to crimson his entire face. A vast motor started in his loins and died nameless. Again, a wonderful way of describing how it must be to be, for a 10-year-old to know there's something going on, but he's not quite old enough to understand, because he doesn't have the hormones going to yet understand,
Yeah, but definitely some reaction there.
Yeah.
Quite a kiss.
Oh, Timothy, she said, what a shame that we could not truly meet, you moving on to your grave and I to a sweet oblivion of flesh and procreation. Yes, said Timothy, a shame. Do you know what goodbye means? It means God be with you. Goodbye, Timothy. What? Goodbye. And before he could stagger to his feet, she had fled up in the house to vanish forever. And towards the, she's gone at this point, because as she said, she can't stick around lest in any one place for too long of a time, lest they see that she's growing old, younger and younger. So they hear of things. They hear of a glimpse of her in Europe, as a child. Eventually, this woman gloriously pregnant with the glimmer of Angelina's, spark of Angelina in her eye. Timothy at dinner one night, surrounded by his family and napkining his tears, said, Angelina means like an angel, yes? And Marguerite is a flower? Yes, someone said. Well then, murmured Timothy, flowers and angels, not ashes to ashes, dust to dust, angels and flowers. Let's drink to that, said all, and they did. We could spend a lot of time, too much time, or more time than we have tonight, kind of delving into it all. But I like that little cap in the end, dust to dust. The idea of we talk so much about death as we go to decay. Even those of us who believe in an afterlife, eternal life, in any kind of religious, body or life of the spirit, and certainly resurrection of the body one day. Even so, we can still talk about life as this, this aging, going into, eventually you'll be dust, because that's a religious thing too. Remember your death, the memento mori, and so forth. But she's going to the same place, just in a different reversal physical order. And I like the idea of her regressing backward to the moment of conception, and that would be her end. That life-giving moment would be her end. It is kind of a great example of a birth into the afterlife, So
That because as a child, smaller, shrinking and shrinking, cell by cell, instead of splitting, combining, and then finally into that one, and then oblivion.
Mm-hmm.
That's quite a concept to try to wrap your head around.
Yeah, definitely. But I just love that. I think the key to the chapter 2 is, I'll just read it again because it's so great. Sunsets are loved because they vanish. Flowers are loved because they go. The dogs of the field and the cats of the kitchen are loved because soon they must depart. These are not the sole reasons, but at the heart of morning welcomes and afternoon laughters is the promise of farewell. In the gray muzzle of an old dog we see goodbye. In the tired face of an old friend we read long journeys beyond returns. So it was with Angelina Marguerite and the family, but most of all with Timothy. Most of all with Timothy being so young, not understanding. She's coming back his way, but it's
Yeah, but I have to ask,
Mhm.
Where'd she come from? Had she lived before a normal life and then has now reborn?
It's
Or
not really.
that's what that's
Yeah.
the thing he doesn't say, which is why it's like this is the kind of thing you could really sit and talk about and imagine, sparking your own imagination to what was before.
And I
Sure,
like,
how'd she get in the ground? Where'd that come from?
but I like the fact that he doesn't explain it
Right.
thoroughly. He actually, because this is what a good, like, I'm gonna read tomorrow night. I'm gonna read one or two of my stories for Halloween, for Halloween special, and this is very much like the style of short story I write, in that it's a tale, no more than like 10 pages, if that. And it's not concerned with a lot of the superfluous description and whatnot. It sticks to the themes. It sticks to what's important, because then that would be a different. It would take our focus from the themes and the importance of what he's trying to highlight, and it would place it on the how tos and stuff. But you're right.
Right.
On the one hand, the guy who, one of the family members who talks about the onions and bread laid over her, says that uh he had put that there or something like that for her journey or whatever. So on the one hand, it seems like she had died before, but then she says how lucky I was to be buried in some maiden's pomegranate maze. So it's almost as like she inhabits somebody else's young body died and then ages backwards or something. So yeah, it's interesting, fun to speculate.
Mm-hmm.
The next chapter 19, unless you have anything else to say more about that one.
Oh no.
The Chimney Sweeps, it's a very short chapter. I don't really have any parts to read or things to say there, but it's a neat little idea that all of the winds, because this is this haunted, house, all of the winds from all of the different areas of the world that are mysterious in their own right come at night to play in these chimneys of this house, these 99 or 100 or 100 or 99, however it keeps saying. Um, and then the fact that Timothy and Arak and Anuba and the spider, or the mouse, can, if they're a little bored, they can always go over to a chimney and talk to these winds and hear hear the news from afar off or something like that. It's a really another reason why this would make a wonderful film.
Mhm.
Instead of Rob Zombie trying to you know
Ugh.
rake over the monsters yet again. Do something different. Do this. Some Hollywood do this. This would be great. Stop giving us reiterations of the classics that have been done so well a number of times. Because I think the monsters. I liked one of the remakes of the monsters they did, and then Adam's Family. Of course, the movies were wonderful as well as the old show and everything. So enough. Give us this.
Mhm.
So, did you have anything more to say about the Chimney Sweep chapter?
No, just kind of a neat idea that the winds being intelligent and knowing, and like I said, the news of the world through
Mm-hmm.
the winds, and just a neat concept.
Stephen Cruz is here. Oh, well, the AL. Welcome, AL. Stephen Cruz is giving me a hard time. He says I'm beardless. I'm not beardless. It's trimmed down very low, especially in this light. It looks like it's hardly there, but see,
Well,
it's there.
I will also say that as we gray, it just kind
Yes,
of doesn't appear as prominent as it usually does.
that's something too. When I first started going shorter, everybody was like, "Whoa, Prof, you got gray." No, if you have a beard, I mean, yes, it is going gray, absolutely. But when it's longer, you can see more of the dark. When it's like this, if there's any lighter colors in there, it all looks gray. So,
Yep.
but enough. I don't need to defend myself to you. My dear sound engraver likes it just fine. Um, Chapter 20, The Traveler. This is a deep chapter. This is where some things come to head. It starts with the father talking about Ceci, oh, she needs to get a job. I guess it's kind of like a funny little moment. But then Ceci goes to sleep to dream and send her spirit out. And I'm going to read this paragraph, and then we'll talk about it. So she went. She decided where she would go. She went. At this very instant, there burst into the silent house below a fury of madness. A man, a crazed uncle of such reputation as would cause all in the family to start and pull back in their own midnights. An uncle from the times of the Transylvanian wars, and a crazed lord of a dreadful manner who impaled his enemies on spikes, thrust into their bowels to leave them suspended, thrashing in horrible deaths. This uncle, John the Unjust, had arrived from a dark lower Europe some months past, only to discover there was no room for his decayed persona and his dreadful past. The family was strange, perhaps outre, in some degree rococo, but not a scourge, a disease, an annihilation, such as he represented, with crimson eye, razored teeth, talon claw, and the voice of a million impaled souls. So a Dracula, if not Dracula himself, a Dracula type. But I just love the distinction that this our family, and it's really the distinction that I've been making of kind of spooky versus horror. Our family isn't a bunch of horrific slasher monsters. They're not murderers. They are the spooky. They are the mysterious, the weird. Even though you've got sort of vampire werewolf styles among them, he's not really going with traditional monsters and the ones that he talks about. They are the other, a little other. I like that way he describes it. But this is basically Count Dracula directly, coming from the impaling field.
So sounds very much. The description kind of sounds very much like Kurt Barlow or Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Razor teeth and clawed hands.
Good call. Yeah, and I'm sure that Bradbury would have been thinking that definitely. So he's demanding to talk to Ceci because she can help him in some way. And he starts to threaten. I'm trying to find the part that I marked here. Okay, yeah. They said that there was no room for him when he came there.
Mm-hmm.
And I've worked for her the past month. Awful. All right, yeah. I was going to take the train to the city for help, but Ceci can catch these fears. She can clean the cobwebs, make me new. You see, she's got to help. And she's talking about he's talking about these bells that he keeps hearing in his head, loud, unceasing bells that he thinks Ceci can help him with. After all you've done to the family, said Mother, I did nothing. When we had no room here, when we were full in the gables, you swore at us. You have always hated me. We feared you, perhaps. You have a history. That is dreadful. No reason to turn me away. much reason. Nevertheless, if there had been room, lies, lies. Ceci wouldn't help you. The family wouldn't approve. Damn the family. You have damned them. Some have disappeared in the past month since our refusal. You have been gossiping in town. It's only a matter of time before they might come after us. They might. I drink and talk. Unless you help, I might drink more. These damn bells. Ceci can stop them. These bells, said the lonely wraith of a woman. When did they begin? How long have you heard them? Long? He paused and rolled his eyes back to see. Since you locked me out. Since I went and he froze. Drank and talked too much and made the winds blow the wrong way around our roofs. I did no such thing. It's in your face. You speak one thing and threaten another. Hear this, then, John the Terrible said. Listen, dreamer, he stared at Ceci, because her sleeping body's there. If you don't return by sunset to shake my mind, clear my head, you have a... And the mother cuts in. You have a list of all our dearest souls, which you will revise and publish with your drunken tongue. You said it, I didn't. So this, there's danger already. Some of the families already disappeared, and there's grumblings in the town. You know, the pitchforks are being sharpened, you know, so to speak, because of this Dracula character, John the Unjust, spreading the rumors. And I like that. I like this aspect that it's actual horror pointing the finger at the mysterious and spooky, and trying to say that the mysterious and spooky is horror, and getting people to turn against it. Now, I don't think this is necessarily, and maybe it was, I don't know if this is what Bradbury's, intending, but I'm reading it into here in terms of genres, you know. You do have people who like, oh, I don't like creepy things. No, I'm a good person, you know, or maybe people who are, you know, well-intended, but super religious in a way that they don't, they got some sort of blinders on rather than understanding things. And like for Halloween, for example, you know, those people who know it's Halloween's the devil's holiday. I won't celebrate it. Won't celebrate it. Now, look, I get it. I don't like horror. I'm not condemning anybody who does. You know, I know Al for some reason likes that. You know, it's fine. But there's a difference. You know, there's a difference, and there's nothing wrong with the fun, spooky. You know, it's okay. I was watching Dude Dad. He's this YouTuber who makes a lot of these funny videos, and he was doing the types of people on Halloween. It made me think of Fan Man, actually. And he said the horror fanatic, and he's like, no, kids, you're not watching Hocus Pocus. We're watching Halloween or The Exorcist. You know, I don't care if they're 6; they're old enough. You know, we're real Halloween stuff. And like, well, no, this is real Halloween stuff. I don't know. I think I had a point, but I'm kind of wandering around.
Yeah, I was wondering where you were going at. It's like, I thought you were talking about how society will fear the unknown and attack what they do not know.
There is that aspect of it.
And
we're going to get to that in the next chapter.
That is what John is feeding, that fear that quote unquote normal people have.
And yet
to a group like the Elliots.
Mm-hmm. And yet the one who is doing the feeding the fear is the actual danger, the actual one that they would want to, you know, drive out of town or whatever. There's so much in that. So yeah, I was trying to go with a genre thing, which I think there's something there, but maybe I haven't fully developed it enough to really talk about it. But we'll get to it maybe as we go along. But yeah, go ahead.
But I also want to say is his insistent hearing of those bells, which of course could be, you know, interpreted however many ways, his own conscience or whatever. But it also reminds me of one of my favorite Edgar Allan Poe poems.
Telltale Heart?
No, The Bells.
Oh, The Bells. Oh, the poems. I thought you meant Toy Story.
The poem. Yeah. It's a tabulation of the bells. The bells, 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 bells. It's like, I'm picturing this guy just like going, the bells, 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 bells.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
If you've never read The Bells, it's like just a really cool poem.
Yeah, and you can find it. You can even find readings of Poe. All this great, you know, anything you can find Christopher Lee reading is wonderful.
Yeah.
But going back to the point that you started to make there, with they're being turned against people who are others, who are being othered. Anybody who doesn't get on board and act just like the normal people, and they think they're doing the Lord's work, quote unquote. You know, they're driving out the nonconformists. and yet the one who's prompting them to do it is the greatest evil of all. There's a lesson in that. And
God, where have we seen this?
well, that's the thing. I mean, Bradbury would have been writing this around the time of McCarthyism and stuff, and a lot of the witch hunts that have been going on. But now we're seeing it all over on the opposite end, where the unless you are on board with a very extreme socialist agenda, unless you are on board with trusting in that government and putting whatever thing in your body the government wants you to put in your body, then you are second class. You're the enemy. You are to be feared. You are to be shunned. You are to be brought to kneel, in some way or another.
If you are not with us, you are against us.
Yeah. The end of the chapter is interesting because we do find out about the bells that it was actually Ceci who put the bells in his head. He does go to try to tell a police officer, like a sheriff's office or whatever, about these people in this house. Ceci enters into the officer in the last moment, and she hopes that she was in there long enough for him not to remember what John said, but he does remember a little bit. He remembers the house in the end. But then John the Unjust. Oh, go ahead.
I love John Glover's reading of that, how suddenly the sheriff has Ceci's voice.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as the sheriff, or as soon as John the Unjust realizes that the sheriff has Ceci's voice, he realizes there's no point in telling you, she's here now, And so he leaves. Then we get this last little bit of the chapter. The trapdoor to the attic burst upward, and the terrible and unjust man was there. He stood over Ceci's dreaming body. The bells, he said, his hand to his ears, they're yours. I should have known. Hurting me, punishing me. Stop. We'll burn you. I'll bring the mob. Oh, God, my head. With one last crushing gesture, he crammed his fist to his ears and dropped dead. The lonely woman of the house moved to look down at the body, while Timothy in the shadows felt his companions panic and twitch and hide. Oh, mother, said Ceci, quiet voice from her wakened lips. I tried to stop him. Didn't. He named our name. He said our place. Will the sheriff remember? The lonely woman of midnights had no answer. Timothy in the shadows listened. From Ceci's lips far off and now near and clear came the sounding of the bells, the awful holy bells, the sounding of the bells, referencing Poe's poem there that you're talking about. And the bells, of course, are often church bells, right? For whom the bell tolls and stuff like that. So bells are some sort of judgment. And the idea that these spooky, these October people would pronounce some sort of judgment on the true horror is a great, idea too. Stephen Cruz is saying, saw a vid of a psychologist talking to Charles Adams, trying to fish for childhood traumas. Found out he was very happy, normal, and just into the macabre. Had a wicked sense of humor. Yeah, that's yeah. Some people think, especially back then, think, oh, there must be something wrong with somebody who would write that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, Stephen King's favorite, when he's had such a long career since the '80s and whatnot. When people would try to say, what are you like? What kind of person are you? What do you scare babies or something at home to write this terrible stuff? And he likes to say, no, I'm just like you. Tries to make that creepy or whatever. So we're building up. Danger's coming. Chapter 21. Timothy wakes from a nightmare of the house burning down, and he runs to find 1,000 times great grandmare. He hasn't visited her in a little while. So he's waking her up and talking to her, and she's telling him the time is coming, that we have to leave. Danger is coming. And he asks, a lot of what she says is wonderful and really gets at the themes of the book. As he gazed, the bright embossments began to shiver and flake. The earthquake, tonight, mourned the dust, turned in on itself. So the great grandmare just says tonight is when it's happening. But, cried Timothy, after so long, why now? It is the age of discovery and revelations. The pictures that fly through the air, listen to this closely. It is the age of discovery and revelations. The pictures that fly through the air, the sounds that blow in the winds, things seen by many, things heard by all, travelers on the road by the tens of millions, no escape. We have been found by the words in the air and the pictures sent on light beams into rooms where children and children's parents sit, while Medusa with insect antennae quoth tells and seeks punishment. Tells all and seeks punishment. Let me read that again because I botched it a little bit. We have been found by the words in the air and the pictures sent on light beams into rooms where children and children's parents sit, while Medusa, with insect antennae, tells all and seeks punishment. She's describing, in wonderfully poetic language, modern technology. Pictures flying through the air, sounds everywhere, and children and their parents and their different generations sitting in a room while Medusa, with insect antennae, she's talking about the television, tells all the antenna, on the, but calling them Medusa, what does that mean? Well, Medusa, when you looked at her, you turned to stone. So fixed on the TV, just stone like zombies into the TV, tells all and seeks punishment. And so see in the old monster movies, it was a mob mentality at the end, right? The mobs with their pitchforks and torches coming to burn Frankenstein or whatever, because the mob mentality got built up. But now the mobs happening separately through television, through technology, and nonetheless being called together to them. And again, he's making commentaries on society and whatnot. For what? Or punishment. She says seeking punishment, and Timothy says for what? And this is good. No reason is needed. It is just the revelation of the hour, the meaningless alarms and excursions of the week, the panic of the single night. No one asks, but death and destruction are delivered. As the children sit with their parents behind them, frozen in an arctic spell of unwanted gossip and unneeded slander, no matter. The dumb will speak, the stupid will assume, and we are destroyed. Man, that is so
today.
Profoundly today. So profoundly today. I don't. My channel's not a political commentary, but whenever we get to literature that actually speaks to politics, whether the author's intent or whether just it's there. Like for example, we were talking about Dune, and Frank Herbert did not like this mindless worship of leaders. And in watching everybody, how they lauded over JFK, for example, gave him the idea of this dangerous, as he called it, the superhero. And that's one of the warnings against somebody like a Paul Muad'Dib character, Messiah-like character as a human, that he warned against. And we talked about that, and we talked about the different times in history when that's happened. And you can't not apply that to the Obama era with just the starry, mindless glaze of smiles, that you saw everywhere. No one questioned him. And it's interesting that we've seen, we're seeing that today. I'll get out without going into too much specifics, but a mob mentality is being whipped up. And in America, of all places, they are trying to treat people as though they're second-class citizens for simply not making a medical choice. It's I'm sorry to be that specific, but it's the case. I'm living through it right now. I mean, because I refuse to get vaccinated, which again, I'm not against vaccination. If someone decided to do it for themselves, great, wonderful. Wish you all the best. I'm not like, oh, it's going to kill you, but no, it's not for me. And I decided against it. And for my job, they're trying their best to twist and force the issue to coerce and manipulate. And if you don't get it, then you have to get tested weekly, which is ridiculous. There's no reason for that. They're just trying to cause it such a burden on you so that you'll shut up, comply, and they can have their numbers checked off for all of the vaccinated, So luckily I'm able to get into a different position now and leave that job. But then it's coming. I mean, they've just approved it for kids. How long before they start mandating or taking people's kids away? That would never happen. Go look at Australia. Don't tell me that would never happen. People are doing crazy psycho stuff today. They're coming with the pitchforks and the torches right now. It's insane. It's exactly what Ground Mayor is describing here. The floods will soon arrive, inundations, tidal waters of men. And Timothy says, but what have we done? Nothing. We have survived is all. And those who come to drown us are envious of our lives lived for so many centuries. Because we are different, we must be washed away. Because we are different, we must be washed away. Because we have something which is nonconformity, which is unconcerned for what they're concerned for. Doesn't matter. We might as well be evil. We might as well be John the Unjust, impalers of men, because we're not conforming. Man, that's so poignant and necessary or relevant to today. What can we do? Timothy asked. Escape to all directions. They cannot follow so many flights. The house must be vacant by midnight when they will come with torches. Now, the last time we heard about the family dispersing, it was for their survival. Remember, Timothy had the idea if we want people to remember and believe in us for the sake of our survival, then we need to get out there into all the different places, not congregate in one small place.
Mhm.
And now that's the way they're going to survive, escaping the onslaught. But also they'll be scattered more. So you got an idea of a little bit of survival that we'll get to in the end.
Yeah, they'll have no safe, no safe
Yeah,
space.
yeah. Ceci comes, and Ceci's going to be the one who she can certainly, get the news out to all the family quite quickly. And then the great grandmare says, "They hate me because I am the accumulation of knowledge of the knowledge of death. That knowledge is a curse to them instead of a useful burden." And this is where I think we start to get into some of the themes that the Halloween tree set up. Remember that we should look back on our history. We should look back on even the uncomfortable parts of history, the death worshippers and so forth. And Halloween is a great time. The All Hallows Eve, the night before All Saints Day, is being the time to look back and examine our fear of the darkness, examine darkness and all it we've done in relation to it and all it does to us, but with the ultimate knowledge that the sun's coming the next day and All Saints Day is coming, Um, oh yes, but only by the dead. Or no, she says, they hate me because I am the accumulations of the knowledge of death. That knowledge is a curse to them instead of a useful burden. Started Timothy and Ceci finished. Can death be remembered? Oh yes, but only by the dead. You the living are blind, but we who have bathed in time and been reborn as children of the earth and inheritors of eternity, drift gently in rivers of sand and streams of darkness, knowing the bombardment from the stars whose emanations have taken millions of years to rain upon the land and seek us out in our plantations of eternally wrapped souls, like great seeds beneath the marbled layers and the bas-relief skeletons of reptile birds and the fly on sandstone, with wings spread a million years wide and as deep as single breath. We are the keepers of time. You who walk the earth know only the moment, which is whisked away with your next exhalation. Because you move and live, you cannot keep. We are the granaries of dark remembrance. Our funerary jars keep not only our lights and silent hearts, but our wells deeper than you can imagine, where in the subterranean lost hours all the depths that ever were, the depths on which mankind has built new tenements of flesh and ramparts of stone, moving ever upward, even as we sink down and down, doused in twilights, bandaged by midnights. We accumulate. We are wise with farewells. Would you not admit, child, that 40 billion deaths are a great wisdom, and those 40 billion who shelve under the earth are a great gift to the living so that they might live? That's the key right there. The history of it, knowing all that died, knowing, without just being caught up in the moment, it's a great gift. I guess, Timothy says, do not guess, child. No. I will teach, and that knowledge important to living because only death can set the world free to be born again. That is your sweet burden. And tonight is the night when your task begins now. Only death can set the world free to be born again. Man, that's so poignant, so wonderful. And then this is Timothy's task, because remember, Timothy was the one who was supposed to write down all of their stories, but now we get writing their message too, And tonight his burden begins, his task begins.
It's a lot,
Now
it's a lot for a 10-year-old to kind of take on
yeah,
himself.
yeah. Sound Graver says I'm going to refer to MSN as Medusa from now on. I know, and CNN and all of it. Stephen Cruz says if Frankenstein got bit by a werewolf and becomes Wolfman Frankenstein, would silver bullets still work on him, or would you need incendiary silver bullets to kill the undead wolf curse? Write it up. That's a good story. Now you stop me if you want to say anything that I'm skipping over, but basically the people are coming, the danger's coming, the house does start to be burned down, and great grandmare says you have to carry me out, Timothy, and she's just light husk of a corpse, so he carries her out and flees. And Ceci gets the word out to everybody else, so they flee. We don't know exactly who, are surely some of them died, but many of them flee. Now we know like people like Uncle Einar are still there. The mysterious or the ghastly passenger is already a ghost, so he can't, really, and so forth. But be killed or anything. So that closes out this chapter. Timothy on the run with great grandmare. The one thing that I don't remember reading in my 2 times reading it now, and I wish it would have been in there, this just confirming that he did take Arak, Anuba, and Mouse with him. We don't really aren't really told that, but I'd like to have that confirmation.
But it's even just this short time with this family, it really is an emotional gut punch that what's happening to the house.
Yeah.
Because the house is a character.
Exactly. Yeah,
however many chimneys it has.
And I like that you said that, because speaking of the house as a character, here we go. In the next chapter, a very short little chapter, chapter 22, The One Who Remembers. With the passage of time, a young man came along the road, like one emerging from a dream or stepping forth from the quiet tides, only a silent sea, to find himself in a strange landscape, staring at the abandoned house as if he knew but did not know what it had once contained. Now think about this chapter. It's the one who remembers, and it's a living human, coming back to this husk of a place now. It's hope here. It's someone who does remember that spookiness in the context of what's going on. And of course, this is Tom, Ceci's, beloved from before. He listened carefully and replied, "Tom," he said, "it's Tom. Do you know me? Do you remember?" He's calling out to the house here. The branches of the tree trembled with remembrance. "Are you here now?" he said. "Almost," came the whisper of a reply. "Yes, no." The shadows stirred. The front door of the house squeaked and slowly blew open. He moved to the bottom of the steps leading up. The chimney flue at the center of the house hollowed a breath of temperate weather, this husk of a burnt house. "If I go in and wait, then what?" he said, watching the vast front of the silent house for response. The front door drifted on its hinges. A few remaining windows shook softly in their frames, reflecting the first twilight stars. He heard, but did not hear the assurance about the ears. "Go in, wait." If you read here, if we find out here, he's the house itself is speaking to him in lieu of Ceci. The timbers of the house leaned away from him as if to draw him near. He took another step. "I don't know. What? Who am I looking for?" You're snorting awfully much in that mic there, Al, while I'm reading.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The timbers of the house leaned away from him as if to draw him near. He took another step. "I don't know what. Who am I looking for?" Silence. The house waited. The wind waited in the trees. "Anne? Is that who?" But no, she's long gone away. But there was another. I almost know her name. What? The house timbers groaned with impatience. He moved up to the third step and then all the way to the top, where he stood imbalanced by the wide open door where the weather drew its breath as if to waft him in. But he stood very still, eyes shut, trying to see a shadow face behind his eyelids. I almost know the name, he thought. In. He stepped in through the door. Almost instantly the house sank the merest quarter of an inch, as if the night had come upon it, or a cloud drifted to weight the attic roof. In the attic heights there was a dream inside of a slumber, inside of a flesh. "Who's there?" he called quietly. "Where are you?" The attic dusk rose and sank in a stir of shadow. "Oh, yes, he said at last. "I know it now. Your blessed name." He moved to the bottom of the stairs leading up through the moonlight to the waiting attic of the house. He took a breath. "Ceci," he said at last. The house trembled. Moonlight shone on the stars. He went up. "Ceci," he said a final time. The front door slowly drifted and then slid and then very quietly shut. So we have the wonderful culmination of this great love story. Tom does find Ceci in the end, but the fact that he was drawn to her, not Anne, it was something other. It was something mysterious. And the fact that a living person believes, remembers, and comes back to the house is almost a sign of hope or a sign of life for these, inmates, so to speak. I don't know. What'd you make of that,
Al? He's, like I said, even through the visage of Anne, he knew that there was something else, and that is what he wanted. Was Ceci, the essence, the spirit, and that's what we when we are lucky enough to find that person in our lives, that's what we're attracted to,
Mhm.
is the spirit of that person. But
Yeah.
it does, where it's like, was Ceci part of the house now?
I don't think literally.
Or is she physically still in the attic?
I think she's physically in the attic, yes. Um, I don't think she's like linked to the house, like, physically or anything, but I think it's a nice poetic sort of metaphorical way because she is the one who's been the keeper of the family in so many ways.
Yeah,
She's linked them together.
exactly. Yeah, she's the link to the family. She knows where everyone is, can talk to any of them
Hmm.
in a matter of moments. And
Yeah, yeah,
the
and
house, even though it's been discovered and they've been driven out, the house is still there. It's not
exactly.
hasn't been burned down. So the heart of the family is still there.
Hmm.
And
And
Ceci being the heart of the family.
and the fact that she's been waiting for Tom. That's the only
Hmm.
reason she would stay there and wait. So, like the AL says, I have found people are not self-aware enough to realize these stories are about their own lives. Well, we talk about it a lot on the channel in general. It's that's what ideology does. It blinds you to truths about yourself. It gives you a prepackaged belief set, a prepackaged set of worldviews that's ever being updated. Your programming's always being updated by the current media and so forth. So yeah, the self-awareness, that's out the window, definitely. Um, the next and last chapter is wonderful. It's called The Gift. And what a great name for a chapter to end this book in particular. Now, you slow me down or you say anything you want to say over this beginning here if you want to, Al. But basically, we go to this archaeologist's office in this museum, and somebody wants to see him, and it's Timothy. Timothy is somehow makes his way in, and he's got this bundle under his arms, which we know is his great grandmare, and who is Nefertiti's mother. We are told in another part, and he eventually shows this archaeologist, and the archaeologist is nice. He's not like stealing from him or anything, and Timothy said, "I don't want to sell it to you. I want it to stay here for to be of use to you and others." He says, so the man says, "Well, what do you want then?" "Just that if she stays here, sir, that once a day you talk to her." Embarrassed, Timothy looked at his shoes. "Would you trust me to do that, Timothy?" Timothy looked up. "Oh, yes, sir, if you promised." Then he went on, raising his gaze to fix on the curator. "More than that, listen to her." "She talks, does she?" "A lot, sir." "Is she talking now?" "Yes, but you have to bend close. I'm used to it now. After a while, you will be too." The curator shut his eyes, listened. There was a rustle of ancient paper, somewhere, with wrinkled his face, listening. "What?" he asked. What is it that she mainly says?" "Everything there is to say about death, sir." "Everything?" 4,400 years, like I said, sir, and 900 million people who had to die so we can live. That's a lot of dying." "Yes, sir, but I'm glad." "What a terrible thing to say." "No, sir, because if they were alive, we wouldn't be able to move or breathe." "I see what you mean. She knows all that, does she?" "Yes, sir. Her daughter was the beautiful one, who was there, so she is the one who remembers." "The ghost that tells a flesh and soul complete history of the book of the dead?" "I think so, sir. And one other thing," said Timothy, and then he asked that he should always be allowed to come back and visit.
Mhm.
And this concept that you have to listen to her, and he takes her to a museum. This is really this is really Bradbury telling us the point of the story here is that uh, the spooky, the other, the Halloween, the our history, our history of death and all of that, and what we've thought of death throughout the past. We know this from the Halloween tree, in which he spells it out even more explicitly. It's there to teach us. It's there so that we might live. Um, and the Halloween tree does that so well. If you haven't read the Halloween tree, oh my gosh, do yourself a favor, clear out a couple hours and just sit and read that this Halloween. You will love it. You will be so blessed by that. It's awesome. But so yeah, I think it's a beautiful way to end the story. Do you have
Uh,
anything more to say about that?
I love the fact that we are so used to people being confrontational and not believing, but to have a character like D.W. Alcott believe
The
Timothy
archaeologist.
right off the bat,
Mm-hmm.
and totally accept the fact that yes, I got to talk to this collection of papyrus.
Well, it's weird for him to do so too, because he says, I don't know why, but I believe you, you know. So there's something about Timothy,
There's something in there.
This earnestness and whatnot. Yeah, and
a little whisper of belief, I think, is what's needed to really be able to hear what Neff is going to have to say.
And that's been the theme of the book, right? Belief.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is why there are our history, why these people, these others are dying off, because no one believes in them anymore. And yeah, it's frustrating. Sometimes I love doing these book studies, but sometimes it can be frustrating because, you know, as a professor, like I want to delve deep and spend hours, you know, and you know, but this is not the forum for that necessarily, or the time, you know, we don't have the time for it too. But it's just a great read. And as a novel and stories, there are some that really strike you, you know, some that really work, like the ghastly passenger, Uncle Einar. I forget what the chapter was called, with the four that are stuck in grandpa's head. That's a wonderful one.
Those four rapscallions.
Yeah. The wandering witch, you know, Ceci's story about going out to find Tom and so forth. Some of them are just really magical and stick with you, and can be read alone, you know, as on their own as tales. But when you put them together, there's that greater arc of themes, you know, that it goes through. But yeah, good stuff. So I don't know. I feel like I should have something really brilliant and wonderful to say about it, but I've just been enjoying it so much that I'm just I don't have any good closer. So
it's
you take it
left
out.
the professor speechless. it is just so significant to him.
I'm also a little tired, quite tired and hungry. Actually, I need to go put some chicken in or something. Tonight's going to be, I think, honey barbecue chicken wings, boneless.
Ooh,
yep, with blue cheese dressing. Yep, gonna go pop that in the oven.
I know this is weird and off topic, but have you seen the latest edition of Hot Ones with Mila Kunis?
I don't even know what Hot Ones is.
And they have it's a guy, they sit and interview a celebrity or whatever as they eat progressively hotter chicken wings.
Oh no, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, look at up Hot Ones. It's pretty funny. Mila Kunis is the latest one, and she suffers a bit with some of the heat. It's pretty funny.
No, don't go away yet, Melissa Harris. We're not done yet. And yeah, don't worry, my dear. We are definitely talking about Bradbury Lane. I just wanted to wait until the end to have more people in here, as we do now. So a great way to close this out is, again, as I talked about beforehand. Audio good, okay. This is my dear Sound Engraver's song she's been working on for a while, and she finished it up the other day, had it posted just today. So Sound Engraver, I'll let you drop the link again to your website to the song. You can download the song for $1. It's just $1 to download, and it's a great song. I'm going to play just a little bit of it here. It's a long track. It's like 9 minutes or a little over 9 minutes. Wonderful ambient track, and it's an homage to Ray Bradbury. And as I was saying at the beginning, if you listen to it, it's got all of the different genres he did. It starts out with a little sci-fi kind of sound, and then it goes into this really speculative kind of, you know, the mysterious, spooky things. It's just great. She's done a lot of different techniques on getting it to go, mixing it from one ear to the other, you know, sort of like an ASMR kind of thing. It feels like the music surrounds you. If you just you can just listen to it sort of as an ambient thing while you're reading Bradbury or something like that. But if you also just sit and kind of quietly listen to it, it really does kind of take you on this ride. It's really great. I like it a lot. I think it's one of my favorite tracks that she's ever composed, actually. I don't know if she'll like that or not, but it's really quite good. So I'm going to play just a little bit of it here. And it has this long intro that's really cool with the sci-fi kind of sounds and stuff like that. But again, we don't have so much time to just listen to the whole thing, but you can, and she put the link in the chat there. You can go ahead and download it for $1. It's just $1, little buck. It's really great. So let me play a little bit of this. I think let me know if you can hear it, Al.
Okay.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Let me just apologize too. I have no control over the volume, the way this page is set up here. So if it's too loud for you, I'm sorry. Go ahead and turn your volume down a little bit, but I'll just play a little bit here. had it a little farther along. I like this part where it drops here in a second. That's awesome.
Getting a little funky.
But I like the meld of the mysterious with the sci-fi, you know?
I mean funky in a good way. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way for me to I can stop it or I can start it, but I can't skip ahead. It's got some really great parts where the bottom will drop out again. It gets like a different sort of sound and melodies come in and everything. But again, it's like almost 10 minutes long, so we're not going to sit here and listen to everything on it. But good stuff, and it can be yours. You can listen to it and skip around in it all you want for $1 there. But thank you, Team Ghost Planet, saying how much he enjoys his book study, so I really appreciate that. Yeah, these are fun. And just to reiterate, we are, hopefully you guys can hear me okay talking over the music. I just want to let it play just for a little bit while I'm talking. We're going to take next week off because give people time to procure their books, because we're going to do Star Wars Allegiance by Timothy Zahn starting on November 11th. So Thursday, November 11th, that'll be when our Star Wars EU book studies pick back up. And you can get your copy of that. I got links in the description below. Paperback $7.99 at Amazon. It's pretty cheap. It's awesome. So a lot of fun. Timothy Zahn. It takes place between episode 4 and episode 5, right after Scoundrels that we read recently. So this is when Han Solo and Chewbacca come back to the Alliance, and it's got Mara Jade. Good stuff. So check that out and join us for that study.
So we meet Mara Jade before.
Yep, this is Mara Jade still in the service of the Emperor.
Okay, the Emperor's hand is still active. Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop that there. Let people check out more. She meets she's in the service of the Emperor, and you get to know it because we made her in the Thrawn trilogy, and she's so bitter, right? And we know that she's got this redemptive arc, and we love that. But it's nice to see a little bit beforehand how her heart was always good. And this is before the Emperor dies, which makes her a lot more bitter, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to get to know her a little bit before that too, and everything. And Vader's in it, you know, everybody, you know, we know and love Luke, Han, Leia. And I'll tease this. This is the last thing I'll say about it, and I'll shut up. But I believe that this book is where Filoni and co got the idea for the Bad Batch series or idea concept anyway, and we'll see how that, you know, is in there as we go, because we do meet some rogue stormtroopers, you know, which is why the cover is just a bunch of stormtroopers on it. So all right, anything else, Al?
Oh, you mean plug my stuff coming up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this Saturday night we will be on Netter's Network. We'll be watching Poltergeist 3.
Oh, that's right. She's the cameo.
Which Nanette is in. She has a little background cameo part.
Extra.
And the week after that, so a week and a day and a half, on my channel, the following Saturday, it's going to be Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Nice.
And of course, just keep an eye out for reviews and things like that. I dropped one last night. A film called Language Lessons. Not everyone's cup of tea, more independent drama, but I like the stars in it. So I watched it, and I really, really liked the film, but I know it's not everybody's kind of thing. So YMMV.
For my part, tomorrow, I really, truly do want to do a live stream. There's always a chance something could keep me away. My own free time is so at a premium right now, and I don't have Alyssa tomorrow night, so I want to do a stream for Halloween, you know, for the start of it. But I don't know exactly how that's going to go. What I want to do is I want to read a couple of my stories, my own spooky speculative fiction stories, and just sort of as a special, and we'll talk about some other things that maybe can be cut out into their own videos later. I'll continue putting out another 1 or 2 Halloween videos, but
and for those who
actually, while you're talking, I'm gonna go get my copy of Allegiance, because Frank just asked what chapters, so I'll go find that out in a second. You guys, you can go ahead and say what you're saying there, and I'll be right back.
I was just going to say, for those who have it, it's a perfect time to reintroduce yourselves to Tales from the Stacks, the graphic novel that the professor put out. Great time of year for those kind of stories. But like I said, Saturday night, Poltergeist 2. My channel for November, we're doing a little nostalgia run with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And then we are doing The Seven Faces of Dr. Lowe. If anybody's ever seen that film, great film, George Powell, starring Tony Randall. A lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to watching that again.
Cool. Dr. Lau, Seven Faces of Dr. Lau.
Seven Faces of Dr. Lau. No. Dr. Lowe.
Is that how they pronounce it? I thought they pronounced it Dr. Lau.
Yeah.
Man, Frank, I don't quite know right off the hand. It's kind of a short book. This is my hard copy, but let me stop sharing the thing so you can see. This is my hard copy. It's not that long, you know. So I would say we're definitely not going to go over 5 chapters, but it's possible we might just look at the first 3 or something. I don't know yet, unfortunately, this far out, but you've got plenty of time to read like the 3 or 5 chapters or whatever for 2 weeks. So let me just see what 5 chapters will be. Actually, no, definitely not 5, because that would be quite a chunk of the book. I would guess 4 is probably we're probably not going to read over 4. We might read 3 or 4, but definitely not over 4 for the first time, I think.
That'll be 2 weeks from tonight. And also don't forget, on the Catholic Bible Geek on Tuesday, we're doing the next 3 chapters in 2 Towers.
Yep, whatever they are. We're reading into the first chapter through the first chapter of book 2.
Right. Yeah.
Of 2 Towers. So the first chapter that revisits Frodo and Sam. Yeah.
And a little guest who may or may not show up again.
Creepy. Smeagol.
Smeagol may pop up.
So the stuff of nightmares. But all right, folks. Well, thanks for hanging out. That's gonna do it for us now. But till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love.
Time to fly away for the last time.
Forever.
Bye, Uncle Alnar.